Hey everyone. I just wanted to talk about looking around if you're shooting an event at everything that's going on around you. For example, when they do the reenactments later on this year, there'll be a lot of activity going on at the camp with people dressed in the period clothing using period utensils. And if you don't go down and look at the camp itself, you're going to miss that. In this particular case, it was a reenactment of the reading of the Declaration of Independence at Fort Ticonderoga. Here we have the daughter of the person who was going to do the presentation practicing the Declaration of Independence. Now, she was off to the side in one of the rooms. I shot this through the window as she's very diligently reading and saying the Declaration of Independence as she goes through practicing it. And it's one of those things that if you're just go to shoot an event, any event, a wedding, um, a tournament of some kind, if you don't look around at the things that are happening that are outside of the spotlight of the event, you may miss a lot of small little moments that are worth capturing in a photograph. And again, when there's going to be the Revolutionary War reenactments later on this year, there will be occasion to see people behaving the way they would have at the time. And that means having the table laid out with the food, cooking the food, doing things that they would normally do at that time. That includes any day at the fort. They usually have they're usually out cooking food for themselves. You see the utensils and things that they would normally carry around. Of course, they have to drink water and stay hydrated while they're out there all this time. So you're going to see period specific pieces that they're using, obviously not from the period, but similar to what would have been held at the period that they're using for their day to day at the fort. And again, if you just pay attention to the spotlighted things, for example, one of the spotlighted things is them firing muskets, showing how they load and fire a musket, or loading and firing the cannon. Or later on, they'll have their fife and drum corps out there performing. There are so many little moments that you can find if you look beyond those spotlighted events. For example, one woman had brought her dog with her, and it was camped out in an area where she is handing out food to the soldiers. The dog was off to the side, but the puppy was there. The fact that there was even a stand where the soldiers would come up and get food is one of the non-spotlighted things. The cooking process that they do. Last year they had a clay mound that they had dug in an oven, as well as some hole and chimney configurations so that they could put a fire on the bottom, and that fire would then heat whatever pan they put on above it. There's so many little things that can get missed. Let's take, for example, a wedding, because I know there's a lot of wedding photographers out there. And yes, the bride and groom are the main event. And you've got to get the cake. But what about the interactions amongst the celebrants? When I would do a wedding, I would want to know who is the who's who's important. If the bride had an older father or a grandfather or grandmother who was there, I would want to make sure that I got pictures of them for obvious reasons. If you've got a group of siblings who haven't seen each other in a while, I don't want to make sure that I get pictures of all of them together. That comes down to not only paying attention to what's going on at the event, but also talking to your client and finding out those little things that are important beyond how many photographs they want, beyond when you have to show up, beyond what the payment's going to be, beyond what kind of artwork they want to get, getting into the details of the interactions of the people so that you know what to look for, as well as looking out for everything else. But just having that basis will allow you to create better artwork for your client. And when you're shooting any kind of event, look for those little side things. Now, you've heard me talk about detail work and things before. This is a little beyond it. It's the detailed work that goes into the overall event that you're capturing. It's the getting a little bit into the mindset of the people who are there, who are going to do the reenactment, and them getting into the headspace of being a soldier or a support person of the time. And yes, by the way, that is a bed in the picture, and yes, those beds were at an angle. So that's what I got for you guys this week. Look around. Look for the things that people aren't seeing directly. All eyes are going to be on the musket loading. All eyes are going to be on the bride and groom. But that means there's a ton of stuff around that people aren't going to see that's just as worthy of being captured. It's just as worthy of being remembered as the main things. So look for those every time you're taking photographs. And I will talk to you guys all next week.